Well, thank you very much for meeting with me, Mr. Liberatore. This has been a very impressive event.
Yes.
You know, it's a great introduction to Gran Selezione. My first question for you is, what's special about Gran Selezione?
Gran Selezione is a new category of Chianti Classico denomination. Why it's special? Because it's on the peak of our denomination, of our pyramid. Just 5-7% in the future of our wines became Gran Selezione. Gran Selezione is a particular wine because it's a product with the grapes and the wine of the winery, just from the winery. You can't mix other grapes or other wines of other cellars within our appellation. This is very important because it's the most important selection in quality in the estate of this wine. And this category has particular differences than the other our typologies, like Riserva and year vintage, in chemical and organoleptical characteristic. And this Gran Selezione to age about minimum 30 months before to put in the market. Okay.
I noticed in our tasting that most of the producers' wines we tasted were from single vineyards. Do you think that's going to become dominant, that most Gran Seleziones will in fact be single vineyard wines in the future?
It can be, but is a choice of the single estate. Yeah. You can have a single vineyard that is like Gran Selezione, or you select the best grapes of your vineyard in the estate and make Gran Selezione. So it's a choice of the estate.
This is obviously an important event. You've been holding it in many of the world's large markets for Chianti Classico. But introducing a new category of wine, even though it's a very high quality category, is challenging because consumers are out there facing many types of wines, and it can be confusing to them. What are you doing aside from this kind of event to really inform consumers and bring Gran Selezione to their attention?
Yes, I think that Gran Selezione is the best production of Chianti Classico. So I think that these wines in this percentage, so little, can compete with all the most important wine in the world, because the quality of our wines, the quality that come from our territory, our area, is very particular. This morning, Antonio Galloni explained to us the differences that we have between the several communes of our area, and we are talking about of the best production of this area. So I think that these are very important arguments that we can use to present our Gran Selezione all over the world.
What do you think the potential U.S. market is for Gran Selezione, as well as for the other wines coming out of Chianti Classico? Gran Selezione these wines were all, I think, $40 and above, $40 to $70.
Yes,
They're not inexpensive. The market, we know, after the financial crisis of 2008, fell out for expensive wines. Has it come back? Are you finding consumers are now once again buying high quality wines?
I think yes, and USA is a very ripe market for our wines. And I think we presented last year Gran Selezione here in New York, and it was a big success. Now our estates are selling these wine, and the performances of the sales are very, very good. So we are very satisfied about this. Okay?
And very good, very good. And are you finding, let's say over the last 3 or 4 years, are sales of Chianti Classico in general increasing in America, and especially the higher end, the Reservas and the Gran Selezione?
Yes. Since 2006, U.S. market is the first market for Chianti Classico. And after the crisis in 2009, we have now an increasing trend of the last 4 years. And the numbers are very positive now, especially for these type of wines, Reserva wines, and now Gran Selezione. We have just a year for Gran Selezione, but I think that in the future we continue with this moment.
Right. We today tasted Gran Selezione wines from several of the different regions, the sub-regions of Chianti Classico, trying to learn what are some of the unique terroir and how that's expressed in the wines. What is the Consorzio planning to do to try to further promote this idea of differences in terroir, regional distinctions in wines, to try to, again, stimulate consumers to try them, to try the...
I think that it will be the next step.
The next step, okay.
We are discussing now about this with our board, and in the next future with our assembly. We are 560 members, so this is a very important discussion about this geographical mention. So I think that is a goal that we are reached, is a target for us. It's a very delicate discussion. We are discussing now. I think that next year we can talk about this new step of Chianti Classico. We have a strategy about this, because we think that the sub-zones are an important thing to valorize, to promote more our wines, and especially Gran Selezione.
Yeah, I agree, and as you know, I'm with the International Wine Review, and we next year hope to do a in-depth study on Chianti Classico and the improvements in the recent years.
No, for us, our quality was improved, especially after a research project called Chianti Classico 2000, because by that project, by the study, by the result of that project, we selected 7 new clones of Sangiovese and 1 of Colorino. And at the end of this project is at the end of 2000 years, okay, we began to replant our vineyards, and now we replanted about 70-75% of our vineyards of Chianti Classico. And so the quality extremely increased in the last years. So it's very important. And if now we have the chance to produce these wines, is also for the result and for this project and for these new clones.
So it's these clonal differences that are perhaps the most important change. Well, that's very interesting. When we were last in, when I was last in Chianti Classico, the planting was going on, but one wasn't really yet getting many of that new plantings in the wines.
Yes.
So it'll be very interesting to see how how that's playing out now.
Thank you.
So, well, thank you very much. I very much appreciate this conversation.
Thank you.